So, new podcast in the description. I spoke on the Nuggets' future, and I also reviewed the new Tomb Raider movie. Now we're going to talk about Andrew Wiggins, who recently said that he is unhappy as the third option behind Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. And it's not like Wiggins was freaking out about this. I guess he was whispering to some teammates, whatever that actually means, I don't know. But, I think what you would say to Andrew Wiggins is, like, duh, you should be the third option on this team behind Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns, because, I mean, Jimmy Butler, even if he and Wiggins are about on the same level in terms of scoring, Butler is a way better playmaker than Wiggins is. He also just doesn't take as many bad mid-range shots or do as many bad isolations. So as a result, it makes sense that he's got the ball more. And then with Towns, I mean, you have a guy who is one of the most gifted scoring centers like ever. So, yeah, Wiggins, you should be the third option. And I think some could even argue that he should be happy that he's not the fourth option behind Jeff Teague, who's a way better playmaker than he is. But I do think there is a deeper level to this where I can understand some frustrations that Wiggins may have. Number one is his post-ups are certainly down. I mean, in 2016, he was getting about 4 post-ups a game. And this season, 2018, Wiggins is getting about 2.5 post-ups. And he's in like the 73rd percentile in the league this season. And I do think that's probably his best offensive ability, is that he has like real moves on the post, whether it's just like hook shots or turnarounds or up fakes and whatever improvisational moves you pull out when you're in the post. Wiggins has always been pretty okay at that, and you'd like to think that if he was just given more opportunity in the low post, then he could thrive there and, you know, probably generate some more offense for himself, get to the free throw line more often and all that. It would also probably stop some of his bad mid-range jumpers, which he takes a lot of bad mid-range jumpers. I mean, this season, between 10 feet and like 21 feet, whatever it would be to still be considered a two-pointer, he's taken over 300 shots, nearly 400, where he's shooting around 36%. I mean, Wiggins, right now, Wiggins is the exact type of player that the modern-day NBA does not want, which is the guy taking the mid-rangers, not taking as many threes, and I mean, he's basically taken as many long twos as he's taken shots at the rim this season. That's not good. And, I mean, if you just watch the games, he will have a couple of possessions where he just kind of slows the offense down, goes into a couple of dribble moves, and has a pull-up shot that, you know, I mean, based on the numbers, not really going in. Now, can you blame some of this on Tom Thibodeau? Potentially. I think the fact that Thibodeau doesn't play the starters with the bench that much means that Wiggins is pretty much always the third option. What you could do to help him out is just to stagger his minutes and play him with the second unit some more, to where he has to be the guy leading the offense. I mean, what you could do is you could roll with, like, Butler and Towns playing together, right? And then you could have Wiggins and Teague play together. Or even if you wanted to split up your top 2 guys, you know, you could have Wiggins with Towns, Butler, and Teague, like whatever you want to do, but that would be better, for Wiggins' sake at least, than just playing all of them and then not playing all of them and having the bench out there. Now, at the same time, would that make the T-Wolves as a team better? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's been kind of a mess when Jimmy Butler has not been in the game. I mean, if you look at the minutes situation, the starting 5 has played over 1,000 minutes together, and then the next most used lineup still has Jimmy Butler and Towns in the game to where Wiggins is still the number 3 option. He just hasn't been given a lot of opportunity to really carry their offense at any time. And I guess for that, I could see why he could be a little unhappy with his role, right? But then again, to Tom Thibodeau's credit, if I go down some of the lineups that Wiggins has been in this season, there are 2 lineups that he's played about 100 minutes each in, where there's no Jimmy Butler and there's no Karl Anthony Towns. It's just him being one of the big 3, or even really the big 4, if you count Jeff Teague. And both of those lineups are negatives. You know, he's in there with like Gorgie Dang and Bielitsa and Tyus Jones and Jamal Crawford, and the other one, Taj Gibson, replaces Bielitsa, and neither one of them's a positive. So it's like, well, you kind of got the opportunity, and you weren't really able to do much with it. Now, of course, only 100 minutes each. That's not like too much over the span of a season. But still, in the time he was given, Wiggins not really able to display perhaps the playmaking abilities or the ability to just keep the ball moving and not kill the offense. Didn't really show those abilities to lead the team on some positive minutes. And I think that's where I can now lead into just Wiggins as a player. And I think the consensus around him is that he has been disappointing up to this point in his career. At 22 years old now, 4th season in the league. I mean, the scoring ability is definitely there. He put up 24 a game last season on decent enough efficiency. But the problem with the guy is, number one, he's just a really disappointing rebounder. I mean, the dude can jump through the gym, or jump out of the gym, however the phrase goes. He's 6'8", he's 22 years old, and he only grabs 4 rebounds a game. Shouldn't he be grabbing like 8 rebounds a game just by existing? I mean, even 2 years ago, Avery Bradley grabbed like 6 boards a game for the Celtics because he just decided that he wanted to. You're going to tell me Wiggins can't grab that many by just having half of a pulse? Especially when he plays 36 minutes a game? That's kind of nuts. And even if he's not going to grab a million defensive rebounds because he wants to get out in transition, I feel like he should still be grabbing more than 1 offensive board a game, you know? I mean, strictly as an offensive rebounder, can he not have the impact that like Sean Marion had, where Marion was able to grab like 2 to 2.5 offensive boards a game, and not even in his like athletic peak with the Suns? I'm talking like 32-year-old Sean Marion in 2011 grabbed 2 offensive boards a game, playing like 10 less minutes a game than Wiggins does now. So, yeah, I just think his rebounding is a total disappointment. And then you look at his ball handling ability, which is better than everybody thought it would be coming out of college, and he really isn't much of a playmaker. Only 2 assists a game. I mean, you know, if we want to look at the assist percentage, he's at 7% right now. His career high in assist percentage is 10.5%. His turnover percentage for his career is higher than his assist percentage. These are not good signs. And I think a lot of it comes back to, one, he's looking for his shot a lot of the time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But it's like the over-dribbling and the slowing down of the offense and just all of that stuff. So he simply just has to become a smarter offensive player. But he's also in his 4th season now, and he doesn't realize that he should be the 3rd option behind Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. I think it's fair to say that the huge contract that the T-Wolves gave him, which I don't fault them for giving him, because they were in an awkward situation where they had a 21-year-old who is clearly good and just needs to work on some things. Like, of course you re-sign that guy. Unfortunately, the NBA is overpay or lose the guy, so that's what it was. But I think it's fair to start thinking they may be killing their salary with Wiggins if this is going to keep up. And then we get to his defense. he should be a really good defensive player. He's not horrible. One-on-one, if he's locked in, he can be okay, but moving around the floor, he has a really rough time. And it's not because he can't move, it's because he doesn't know where to move, he doesn't know the timing, he doesn't know, he messes up on things. But here's what I'm going to say about Wiggins. Victor Oladipo was in a very similar spot, where we saw the athleticism, we saw the potential, he was a little disappointing, and then he just blew up out of nowhere. Now, there are a couple of differences. Oladipo had to be the number one option in Indiana because nobody else was going to do it. But besides that, he improved on his three-pointer, and he just made a lot of strides with his ball handling. I mean, with Wiggins, I don't think it's ridiculous to think that he could still become like a lights-out shooter. I mean, he was okay last season at around league average. I mean, his free throws have been good enough throughout his career. This year they've been a little worse at 64%, but I think there are enough signs to say that he can build up to being a good shooter. And then from there, you just hope natural, maturation comes in terms of just being a smarter basketball player. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely in a tough spot. The other conversation that can be had, I guess, is would they ever consider trading him? Is he going to be on the team in a couple years? I mean, here's the thing. His contract is obscene. He's making $25 million next season, and by the end of 2023, he'll be up to $33 million. So, it's safe to say they're going to be with him for a while. I mean, I don't think you give up on a guy like this for at least, after 2019 bare minimum, and even then probably, after 2020. But, I don't know, I mean, if a young team who was willing to take him on because they say, screw it, we suck anyway, if they were actually going to be willing to trade for him, what would it possibly take? I mean, it would take some bad contracts coming back to you, shorter contracts, I assume, and then at least 2 first-round picks. I mean, it would depend on how bad the other team is. I mean, if you could get a top 5 pick for Wiggins, then you'd probably do it. Although then again, we got the new lottery coming up, so it's going to be a little more difficult for teams to really figure out where they are in the lottery. I would say if Wiggins gets moved, we're not going to see that for a couple more seasons until the T-Wolves are totally sure that he is not going to become this great player. And even then, the trade itself would be kind of tricky, because if the T-Wolves had established that he wasn't going to be great, safe to say the rest of the league would start to have those same feelings, and then it's well, what is this guy really worth? I mean, he's making this much money. They're going to want some young players or draft picks in return, but if you're one of the worst teams in the league, then you don't want to trade that, so it would be an interesting thing. Maybe a team that's trying to win now would do it. I don't know. Maybe Stan Van Gundy would go nuts and trade for Andrew Wiggins. Who knows? But what I would say to Wiggins, and he's not watching this video, so whatever. But still, what I would say to him is, you should be the third option on this team, and you have to get better at some stuff. And, yeah. So, we'll see if he figures it out. Anyway, that's going to do it. New podcast, once again, in the description. The Denver Nuggets future, Tomb Raider, and I'm done.